Hi everyone, I'm Melanie with Painting Crafty, and today I'm going to be walking you step by step of how to draw this sweet little Highland cow. She's bright and colorful, she has lots of fun little details, and she's a little Valentine one because she has some sweet little hearts hanging from her horns. That's what I want to say, her horns. Today I'm also a part of a YouTube hop with the Take 5 group, and all of their links are in the comments today. So if you would like to go ahead and see what other people are offering today in the hop, you'll just have to click on their links and go to directly to their pages. So you can follow along today. For those who might be new to my page, hi Jeannie. This is the watercolor paper that I use, the Canson grade watercolor paper. It's 140 pound. It's still considered a student grade, which means that it's reasonably priced, but you'll get a nice result with this watercolor paper. Kind of a firm believer, just spend just a tiny bit more for your watercolor paper and just buy the watercolors you can afford and you'll have a lot better result. So today I'm going to be working on a 6x6 piece of paper. It doesn't really matter what size you're working on. Grab whatever you might have, and it doesn't even really matter if you're doing watercolor today either. Just grab a pencil, grab some paper. It can be the back of an envelope, and just draw along with me and practice, because basically once you get your image drawn, you can use anything you want to be able to color it in and add the colors. So today I'll just be showing a simple, easy watercolor technique. So this is my little picture here. I like to divide it down in the middle and one across is how I'm going to be doing that. So I'm going to make big me, little picture. Got to switch that around. Okay, big me, or big picture of the cow, little me. I'm going to set this off to the side so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to start here in the middle and draw a line down the middle. I'm freehanding it today. I'm not measuring, but you can measure if you want to. And then I'm going to just eyeball it and come across today like this. Okay, so I have it set up, and you can kind of see where I have it set up on this one as well. So we're going to start out with some simple shapes first to build our foundation for our cow. So the first one we're going to draw is the top of my cow's head. So I'm going to come about right here. I still need some room to be able to put some big old antlers on their antlers. I keep on saying antlers, horns. Some big old horns on there. So I'm going to need some room for that. So I'm going to be able to put my beginning part right here. So I'm going to just make a circle. This is going to be my head. I kind of like to do this little sketchy movement. So I'm not, so I can not necessarily, I can't draw a circle perfect anyway right away. So I'm just going to start with just a round circle there for my head. Now let's pop down and we're going to do the nose part of my cow. And there, StreamYard switched my pictures for me. You know, sometimes that happens and it just, there's no rhyme or reason for it. It just wants to jump around a little bit. So if I look up and I realize I don't have you on, I'll switch you back. Now let's pop down and do her nose. So her nose is going to come, if I think about it, I can do a half mark here. So I can divide this off about half. And then I can bring her nose, going to be her bottom of her lip will touch here. So her nose is going to be, if we kind of come up with a little bit of a rectangle shape that's a little smaller than my head, which will be about the size. Hi, Mary. And we're going to come and we're just going to make this a little rounder. This is going to give my cow some her shape. Then we're going to come down and make it a little round here. Then we're going to dip down just a tiny bit like that. And then we're going to make that same shape that we made over here. We're going to continue it over. Okay, let's erase whatever might be in here and let's take a look at what we got. Now, if it's too, I might have too curvy here. Let's do a little bit softer part there. Okay, there's her nose. I'm going to go in and pop in her nostrils since I'm right here anyway. And her nostrils are like these little commas, I guess is what you would want to say. So I'm going to do a comma on this side. Just back like that, a little comma, and then come in. And then I'm going to do the opposite direction here. Just a little bit opposite like that. Now to give this cow kind of a happy face so she didn't look so scowly and she's got kind of a friendly face to her, I went ahead and I drew just a tiny bit of a smile on her face. Now I know a cow don't have no smile, but she's whimsical and I wanted to give her kind of just more of a gentle look. So I just popped in a little bit of a smile here with a little dot. So if you would like to add that on there, I think that looks good, even though I know cows don't smile, but we can pretend it's a happy little cow. Now let's go ahead, we're going to connect her head with her front of her face. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to be connecting her side of her face right about in the middle of her nose. So we're going to come down. Then we have to make a cheekbone. So we're going to come down here. Then we're going to do a cheek. So we're going to come in a little ways, and then we're going to connect it. So we're going to come over here too, out from the side of my head. Then we're going to do that cheekbone. Look over here where you did your cheekbone there so you can kind of match. So we're going to do that cheekbone and then come back in to the side of my face. So then once you get that part done, I keep on saying then, when we get that part done, take a look and look at your negative spaces. So does this space over here look similar to what you drew on this side? And then you can adjust it to see if you need to make it slightly larger, slightly smaller. So at the end, you kind of have more of a balanced face. I think I'm gonna change this curve just a tiny bit. All right, now let's go ahead and erase part of the circle in here. We'll clear this up so we can work on our horns and her face. Okay, so there's the top of her head. I'm going to erase that part. I'm still going to keep my middle line because this is where I'm going to build my eyes off of, is this middle line here. So I have her head set up. All right, let's pop up just a little bit farther. This is how big we're going to make our eyes. So I'm going to come up just a little bit farther and go across my head. This is where we're going to set up our lines. Okay, now her eyes are kind of at a slant. They're at a slant. You don't want too much of a slant because otherwise she's going to look evil, but you can put her at a slight slant here, and then the eye part that's being drawn is the little loop down below. Doesn't go all the way across the eye. It only goes a partial way. So it's going to come here and then come up and end a little bit sooner. That will give you a cute eye. So let's start off to the side. So we're going to come here, make our eye at an angle, but not evil. And then on this side too, we want to go for, her eyes are going to be off to the side. So we're going to want to have them off to the side. By drawing that line there, that gives us a better chance of having them similar. They don't have to match perfect, but you want them kind of similar. Now I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to loop down, and I want to come up before I end my eye there. Okay, so let's come on this side. I think I need to change that one just a tiny bit. All right, then let's loop down and touch. Okay, so it's like having a big old kind of a sad face on the top of her eye, but that's just going to give her a nice look. Okay, so we got her little face done, or her eyes put in. Now let's work a little bit on her nose. We're going to be working on this structure right here, so we're going to add that on there. Move that so I don't accidentally touch it. Okay, because sometimes if you touch it, then you go wonky. All right, so let's work a little bit on the inside of her nose. I'm going to start at these points, like kind of the high points of her nose. I'm going to curve it in ever so slightly and then end when I meet my eye up here. Some of this we're going to see, some of this we're not going to see. Okay, so we have that part done. Now I'm going to suggest you take a little bit of your hard eraser and erase some of these marks so you won't see those. I'll be using my gum eraser to erase and soften my lines at the end once I get her drawn. But these guide marks I know I'm not going to need, so I'm going to use my hard eraser to erase a little bit of these. Okay. The polymer erasers are the one I like to use for my hard lines. All right, she's got to have some horns on her head. So I said it right this time. Instead of antlers, I said horns. So let's pop up just a little bit more. So here was the top of my eyes. Let's go up just a little bit more. We're going to curve out or come out this way. And then she's got to have some curvy horns. So these are going to come up to a point and then gradually come back. All right. Now, when you get this one done, pop over here, go kind of gently across your paper. Put a little tick mark so you know where you have that one. And then come across here, put a little tick mark so you know how big you drew this one. And then take a look at your negative space over here. You can see I'm pretty close to my edge. So that's what I'm going to kind of go for when I go ahead to draw this next part. So I'm going to come out, curve it around, take a look here. Woo, let's see if I'm going to get it that high. This part you kind of want to spend a little bit of time on just to get your horns similar. They don't have to match, but if you can get them similar on each side, they'll just look a little bit more balanced. And after you draw one, if you decide, oh, I like this one better than this one, you can always change them and make them look a little different. I'm thinking I'm going to need to make this a little fatter. It was looking kind of skinny. Let's make that a little bit fatter. Okay, and let's make this one a little bit fatter, because I want to hang some valentines off of these horns. All right, we have that part done. Let's go ahead and erase a little bit more. She's coming together. She's coming together. All right, let's erase some of this. Let's erase this guideline down here because I know I'm not going to need that. I'm going to use my handy dandy dust vacuum. If you do like drawing, you'll want to get one of these because these work great for not only picking up eraser bits, but all kinds of things for crafting, glitter, all those types of things. They work perfect for that. It's nice to get those little bitsies all picked up so they don't end up in your watercolor. Okay, so let's go ahead and erase that. All right. Okay, she's looking like a cow. She's looking like a little cow. Now let's go ahead and work a little bit on her fancy hair. So what I'm going to do to start my hair is I'm going to look at possibly doing a little line work like this so I know where I'm kind of building, just spidering out. And I'm going to do a little bit of fluffy top on her because I don't want her hair to sit super flat on the top of her head, just to give her a little whimsical look. I'm going to go ahead and give her kind of a little chicken fluff on the top. Let's go ahead and add some of the, oh, you know what we forgot to add? Her ears. I need to back up and add her ears. Thanks, Jeannie. Yeah, I love the bright colors too. We need to add her ears. So this is the top line here. I can still see it where my top of my eyes were. So I'm just going to come out and just do a simple shape like this for her ears because they're going to have some nice colorful fur on them too. So we're going to mostly cover them up, but she's got to have some ears. Oh, that's a little too wide. Take a look, little loop like that. You can add them, they could be pointed if you want to make points on them. But I just need something, a little structure to hang some fur on because they have furry ears. All right, she's looking cute. Change this part. You know, that's why we have erasers, right? We can tweak it as we go, change it. A good tip is when you're drawing is to step away a little bit from your picture. Like even by looking up here in my camera, I see something completely different than when I'm actually looking at it. So a good tip is if you're drawing is to just step back a little bit or even turn around. Some people use a mirror when they're drawing to take a look at what they're drawing through a mirror, like over your shoulder, and they take a look of it that way to get a different view. So that's another way you can get away a little bit back, farther away, so you're not so close. So what I see right directly in front of me looks completely different when I look up at the camera. And actually I can tell if I'm more balanced by looking up in the camera than when I'm looking at it from here. And it may be just because I'm standing off to the side too. But that's just a great tip. Try to get away from your work just a little bit and get a little distance. Hi there, my friend Wendy. Thanks for popping on today. Now let's go ahead and draw her bangs because the girl's got some cute bangs. This is going to make her pretty and give her that next whimsical look. So I'm going to make like an S curve shape here, and I'm going to make some of her bang come across that way. And then I'm going to go across her nose. There we go. We got that little bit of a swag bang. Now I'm going to come from this line and I'm going to do another S shape, but I'm going to bring it way past this part of her nose. So here we go. We're going to come up, and then I'm going to come across her nose and bring it over, and then come out this way, bring it back. You can cover up some of her eye if it works, you know, if that makes sense. You could always cover up a little bit of her eye, or you don't even have to bring the line all the way up, and maybe you want to keep the eye and only bring partial of your line around. It's all what you want, actually. I'm going to make another line here because I think I want to go a little bit across her nose, a little bit more across her nose. Yeah, I like that look, just adding another one. Every time you draw them, they're always going to be different, so no two are going to be the same. Thanks, Christy. Yeah, I enjoyed seeing what you were painting today, too. Now, we have this part structure-wise. Let's see, we got to get a little bit more curl in this. Let's give this a little bit more dippity-doo. Dippity-doo. That's an old terminology, dippity-doo. I'm going to do a little bit dippity-doo there. And then I'm going to make some more of these individual curls or swags back and forth that are going to soften her face and around her face. coming up. Now let's do a little bit more over here. So I'm just adding some more S curves as we're coming down. Add a little bit more. Let's do another one there. Okay, there, she's cute. One thing to kind of keep in mind when you're drawing her is to not have them all the same. So like make sure you're having some change all different ways. You love the Highland cows? Yeah, they've been fun and so popular for so long. Now I have my base popped in here, but I want to add some more of this little chicken fluff, we'll call it. I drew a chicken this last week, which is on my YouTube channel too, and she had like a little comb on the top of her head. This is kind of just adding a little extra fluff to my Highland cow, so she doesn't look like she has flat hair. She's a Texas girl. The higher the hair, the closer to God. All right, let's go ahead and add a little bit of fluff to her ears. So her ears are going to just be long little tufts like that. Nothing too fancy. It's going to get colored in more when I do my watercolor. So they're just going to be little hairy areas back there. Now she still looks a little silly until I get her eyes in. And then once her eyes get in, she's going to come to life. And we'll have the darkness of her eye and the highlight, that little catch light on that eye, brings her to life. So once she gets that part on, she'll just come right to life. Now she looks kind of like she's just vacant with no light, with no eyes on there. And you can also add, when you come in, you can also add a few little eyelashes at the top to give her even more of a like a girly girl look on there. Now we have to go ahead and add her body. Now her body shape is fairly easy. We're just coming up here by my jawline. And I'm just going to kind of round it here. This is going to be the beginning of my body. And then I will add the little fluffies on there. So this is just an upside down U shape, and we're going to build it off that. Now we're going to tuck this little bow underneath her chin. It solves kind of a couple different problems. A lot of times if you were to draw this Highland cow, and if you were to carry her fur like right underneath her chin, she kind of looks like she has a beard instead of a full like hair instead of just a beard. So if you don't want to add the bow, which you don't have to, you're just going to want to stop your lines underneath here a little shorter than coming all the way up to her underneath her chin, and then it'll look more like fur and less like a beard on her. But I decided to go ahead and add this bow instead of and then that just took up a little bit of space, and it makes her look more like, makes her look better. So I'm going to start with my bow. Now the ribbon around her neck, to give it a little bit more dimension, is you're going to want to start narrow here and then swoop down this direction. By curving it, by adding a little bit of curve to your drawing, so this is going to get a little wider as it comes down, it's going to make it look like it's moving more around my picture. Okay, then I'm just going to put a squarish knot here. This could be round, whatever you want to. Then let's pop in the bow part here. So I'm going to come up with my loop, down and over. I'm going to erase a little bit here. Then I'm going to create an opening here. So that's going to give a little bit more dimension to my bow by creating a little opening. And this part of my bow is going to be behind her, so I'm just going to make it a loop that comes back to her face. And by coloring it in the color of her bow at the end, that will make it look like it's going around her as well. Let's go ahead and put some long tails in for her bow. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a curve as well. I'm going to curve them. You can make irregular edges to make it even a little bit more fancy, or you can leave them plain, whatever suits your fancy. All right, so now we have the shoulders, kind of the simple shape, but now we got to add a little bit more fluff to her. So let's come off to the sides here and do a few of these flips. So we're going to come down. She's got that long hair and coming back a different direction now. So I'm going to have some that go out one direction, some that come back in. There we go. And then in the front, I'm just going to, you can just curve them down too, so it doesn't have to be all flips either. If that doesn't look right on yours, you could just add some curls. Now let's give some flips to this side over here. I'm going to make this a long flip that and bring it in a little ways. And these lines here I will outline in my micron pen. So those will be darkened and they will stand out more once I add the micron pen in there. Okay, she is pretty much done. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of the micron pen. If you have a Sharpie, you don't have a micron pen, you could use a Sharpie, Just make sure you let it dry somewhat before you go ahead and color over it. I just like the microns for one reason. They are more of a permanent ink, and they do come in different sizes. So this is a 01, which works really well. Sorry for the lighting today. I'm visiting my dad today, so I'm in a different location. But the number 1 works really well for doing some of these smaller detail work. I'm going to start with her eye because I want to bring her to life. Now, I don't mind doing a little bit of a scribble process where I'm not following exactly the lines that I drew with my pencil. And the way I like to do eyes is I like to scribble and get a little smaller as I'm coming in, and then leaving the white as I'm scribbling. So it's not just like a round little dot. It gives it more character if you do it that way. And then I'm going to come over here, strengthen my line, add some little eyelashes. See how she came to life just by darkening up that eye and adding that little highlight in there? Now I'm going to do the same over here. And often when you're doing these little whimsical drawings, if you move faster and don't overthink it, you might get a better drawing in the end. Okay. Cute. She just came to life by adding all of those things. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop in my eyelashes like so. Coming down a little bit there. Now let's go ahead and work a little bit on her upper part of her fur as well. Fur, I'm not for sure. Fur? Hair? It's probably hair. It's not fur. And I can come in and add more lines, but by having it drawn somewhat, I'm giving myself a base to work with, and I can go in and do my line work. I like drawing. Some people don't care for drawing. I do have a Ko-fi page, which is like a Patreon page, and on there is where you can find all of my, you can join the sketchbook membership, and when you do that, then you can get a copy. I send a tracer of all my drawings, so you can pop on and get a tracer and use that to be able to trace and start. And like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter what you use to draw your things or paint it in, add the color, whether it be watercolor, acrylic paint, it doesn't really matter. Once you have the image, you can use whatever you want. So sometimes a tracer is great for that reason. I also use mine as coloring sheets for my grandchildren when they come over. There's always a stack of grandma's drawings that they can use as color sheets if they want to. There we go. Up we go. And then down. And this side too. I'm going to do just a tiny bit of doodling. These don't have to be perfect lines. And often by not doing a perfect, you actually add a little bit more character to your drawing by not making them perfect. I'm going to color these in with the dark as well. I'm just going to use my micron pen. Okay, let's do a little work on her bow. There we go. And for those who draw along with me on the regular, I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have a Facebook page, so you can find me there. But I always am live on YouTube as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But Thursdays is YouTube only, so that's where you will find me on Thursdays for my draw-alongs is there. Now those who are watching on YouTube today, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, because you know YouTube likes that. And if you haven't subscribed to my page, hit the subscription button. Then you will be able to get notifications of when I'm going live. If you hit the bell to be able to join in, we would so appreciate it. And today the Take 5 group is doing a hop. So there's quite a few of us that are joining in the hop, which means you can hop from one page to another, see a variety of creatives, and join the event. We'd love to have you join in today. Let's go ahead and add some hearts. So what I'm going to do when I do these hearts, I'm going to string some across. So I'm just going to do this freehand. I'm going to come across and then up. And where I land on my horn, I'm going to pick my pencil up, my pen, start on the other side, loop it down because that would be behind it. Now I need to bring it in front, across my horn, and then give it some whimsical at that time. So we've got some little bit of ribbon there. Now I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to go the opposite direction. So we're going to come across. When I hit my horn this time, I'm going to stop, come over it, then we got to curl back around it. If I touch the horn again, it's going to have to go under this time and then curl around. So now she's got kind of that ribbon look of that wrapping around her horns. So this one has some little hearts. I'm going to come back in with my light pencil, maybe my pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw some hearts on my ribbon in different directions, so they're not all different size. You can make them different sizes, have them go in different directions, but they're just a part of this little ribbon strand, or the little tiny ones. I love to add details. So this just makes my heart happy when you get to add a few more details. All right, let's go ahead and add those drop ones. So the drop ones are saying L-O-V-E is what they spell out for that. So I might use my pencil and take a look at what I've got going on here before I commit to where I'm going to have everything. So let's drop down there. And it looks nice is if you can stagger these so they're not all the same way across. Some are higher, some are lower, and kind of figure it out that way. So I'm just going to pop in my first heart. There we go. And let's see, maybe here, and maybe this one could come a little lower. Take up my space. I have the space, so I'm going to try to use it. And then on this side, I got to get the V and the E. So these ones are probably going to be shorter because that bow is there. There's room for the V, and let's come up and I gotta maybe scoot that in just a little bit more. I'm going to try to go straight down if I can, and then let's put the E in there. Okay, cute. That works out well. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pen and travel over those again. Okay. I like to do little wonky ribbon strings off of these. That's just my thing I like to do. And I'm going to do a little bow at the top, and then I'm going to do some wonky ribbon strings. I like to add that little bit of whimsy into my ribbon. Let's put the E in there. It's getting a little messy, hard to little see because I have pencil marks and pen marks, but once I erase it will all be just fine. Let's do some here. That. Oh, make sure I get it spelled right. Wouldn't that be horrible to spell love wrong? Oh gosh. Get my head in the game here. L. All right. Let's go ahead. I think I have pretty much everything sketched out the way I want it done. So I'm going to take my other eraser and go ahead and erase some of these. Clean her up, and then we're going to really see how she looks. Getting rid of some of those pencil marks. It'll change her look by getting rid of some of the pencil. Then I'll be ready to put the watercolor on. And I can see where I missed too. This is where you get to see where you might have missed. Let's see if I can't get this to come out just a tiny bit more. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my little gum eraser as well, just to soften my pencil marks just even a little bit more. I'm going to be just using mostly watercolor today, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Okay. All right, and then let's see if I need to add any more of my ink work in. She might be okay. And because I'm going to be adding the watercolor in, so that will take up a little room as well. Okay, I think she's darling sweet. Let's go ahead and put some watercolor in. So today, today I'm just going to be using this simple little set here. It's inexpensive watercolor, but there's 50 colors in there. And the bright colors that are on this original one are all the neon colors. So that's down here. This set comes with the 4 neon colors in this bottom row. I like using neon colors in some of my things, so I'm going to be using those. And if you're new to watercolor, you always want to do a watercolor chart because they look so different than what they're in the pan here and what they're going to look like on your paper. Because in watercolor, the paper really affects your painting. It's the whitest whites of your painting. So, and it's going to glow through that because all the watercolor is transparent or translucent, I guess is what we want to say. And today I have this little ceramic dish as well. That's going to be able to mix my colors in it. Because, when we're doing watercolor, we always start light and then work our way dark. So I'm going to pick up some color here and put my pink. Oh, there's a little bit of orange in there, but I think that will be fine. No, what I forgot to do, I'm going to have to use a napkin. I forgot to bring a paper towel. How could I forget to bring a paper towel? I'll just use a napkin. So I have a napkin here. I usually keep a paper towel in my hand because I need to be able to tap my color, control the water when I'm doing watercolor. So I usually have a paper towel in my hand to be able to do that. So I'm just picking up my lightest pink that I'm going to use. And I'm mixing it about tea consistency. You'll hear tea consistency or milk consistency often when you're listening to different watercolorists explain what they're doing. So the first layer is usually tea. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some of this color in on her lovely bangs and her hair here. And this will be my lightest color. If you want to, if you can, leave some white as well. That is actually preferred. If you can leave some bright white of your paper and not fill in everything. Sometimes when I'm doing watercolor though, I get anxious and I get all my stuff filled in and it's like, oh, I forgot to leave some white. And if you forget to leave some white in, not all is lost. You can come back in with like a uni ball pen or even a little bit of acrylic paint and pop in a little bit of white as well. So not all is lost if you forget to do it. But if you can remember to do that, it makes such a big difference. Okay, so we got our first little layer in. I'm going to add her pink down here too while I'm doing the pink. Love this pink. All right, now my color where my pink area is wet. So I'm going to do a little bit of blending of color on her while she's still wet. You know what? I'm going to make her pink hearts too while I'm thinking of it. I'm going to dab in some pink here. And I'm going to do this one pink as well. Now, since she's still wet, my paper's wet underneath there, this is when the watercolor magic can start happening. I'm going to take a little bit darker pink. I'm going to come over one area. And now I'm going to tap that next layer in of my color. So I'm going to come right in here and add, while my paper's still wet, I'm going to lay that color down. I'm not trying to cover up everything I just put on. And because the paper is wet, those colors are going to start to blend. And I call it create. It's a little bit of watercolor magic. And while you're painting this, if you feel like you need to add a few more wispies because it doesn't quite look like right or she's not quite fluffy enough, you can go ahead and tap those in there just as being a little bit of pink. Won't do any harm. Okay, this is that dark one. I'm going to come down here and add some of this. And I know there would be a shadow here, so I'm definitely going to have some of it underneath this little ribbon. Come across. And there, I did cover up everything. Now let's use, hello Debbie, thanks for coming on. Hi Deb, I called you Debbie, I don't usually, it's Deb. Hi Deb, thanks for coming on. She's a super cute bull. Oh, she might be. Now this is a bright color neon. All right, let's go ahead and add this little bit of neon color in here. This is going to be that real bright color, but I love using the neons every once in a while because I think it just adds a little bit more something to your drawing. Okay, cute. All right, and then let's add a little bit more here. add to her little bit of her hair color that she's got going on. Give her a little bit of that Barbie pink color. Okay, let's add a little bit more of it into my little hearts that I have off to the side here. So let's come in. I'm going to doctor up these hearts a little bit because I want those to be brighter as well. Now, if you come in and you add like way too much and you're like, oh my gosh, I got a big puddle of color here. You can rinse your brush off. You can rinse your brush in, come here, and it's funny how sometimes that happens. I can go ahead and rinse it off, give my brush a squeeze, and then this will be called a thirsty brush now. And you can come in and you can actually pick up a little bit of your color so it's not so dark. So you can lighten your watercolor. Not all is lost if you add that color in there. All right, she's super cute. Let's work a little bit on her horns. And I'm going to start with a brighter orange. So I'm going to have this in here. I'm going to take up a little bit of my orange, and I'm going to do a blend on blend of color. So we're going to have a little bit of orange, and then I'm going to have more of that bright color here. So I'm going to have my colors set up and we're ready to go because I'm going to do a wet on wet technique. So here's my orange and there's my pink. I'm going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to start with just kind of a clean brush, a little bit of water, and then I'm going to come in here and layer my color, my water, in on those horns. So I want to be able to get my surface wet. All right, now I'm going to pick up my orange and I'm going to tap it into the bottom part of my horn. So I'm setting up a puddle of color. And then I'm going to pick up my pink color and I'm going to tap it in as well. And because those paper is wet and the colors are wet, it's going to blend together and kind of come up with like a real very pretty variegated look. Now I might have to wet this again because it's been setting for a little while. This particular paper doesn't have a lot of cotton content in it, so it's going to dry quicker, a lot quicker than 100% cotton. But that also is a little bit of a user-friendly when you're first starting, is to not have such a paper that holds so much water. Okay, I'm going to tap that orange in. So I'm creating that little puddles of orange all the way up and over. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of that hot pink and I'm going to tap that in the side on the top. And then those colors will blend together and create their own colors. Oh, I really like that. That looks great. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so we have that part done. Let's pop down and we'll give this chance a little bit to dry before I come in and do the orange. Let's work a little bit on her nose. Whoops, almost had a crash. I'm going to start with kind of a brighter green. So I'm going to start over here, a bright color green. And I'm going to base her nose in that. This is kind of a smaller spot. It is harder to leave a little bit more white when you start working on it. And then I'm going to pick up that neon green over here, that really bright, intense green. And I'm going to tap that in there just a little bit because this color gets pretty bright pretty fast. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of teal. So I'm going to come up here and choose a little bit of teal. And I'm going to add that on there while everything is wet and see what happens. So I'm just going to tap that in. I can rinse my brush out and take off most of the water, and you can actually push and pull the color if you would like to move it around a little bit to see what you come up with and how it mixes. And if you get a little bit too past your nose, which I just kind of did then, I rinse my brush off, I squeeze it in my paper towel, get it to a point again, and I can come underneath here and lift a little bit of that color. But I want to do it with a drier brush, because I don't want it to be wet down there when I put my next color in, because that green will want to go right where the water is. So I'm going to let that dry just a tiny bit. Let's work a little bit more on these letters. So I did this one in the green. I'm going to use the same colors. Okay, and then let's add a little bit of my bright neon green. And I think I'm going to pick a little bit of that turquoise too and tap that in there. For those who might be watching on the replay later, if you don't see the live button, that means you're watching on the replay. If you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, YouTube loves that. And if you want to be extra special, leave me a comment. They really like those extra comments. Plus, I really like seeing them and reading them. Tell me what you think about the drawing process, if you're enjoying it, how your drawing came out. And always, you can share it on your drawing on my Facebook page as well. I have a Facebook page, Painting Crafty, and there will be a post with this little guy on it, her on it, and then underneath that post you can always share your work. I love sharing everybody's work because it's always so different. It's always so interesting to see everybody's version, and I think you are encouragers to other people as well. It doesn't have to look like mine to be good. So I love sharing everybody's work. It's a fun process. Now it's kind of drying, it's kind of fading. If you notice how fading it is, because watercolor dries light, so you might have to add a few more layers. Great for anything we add them to, right? Exactly. Now, so her horns have kind of faded where it looked more intense, where it used to be bright. So now I'm going to come in and add just a little bit more color. So I'm going to deepen it up. I'm going to step down on my orange, kind of more of a reddish orange. And I'm going to add just a little bit more color. So I'm going to deepen it up. I'm just going to tap it like that. But I still want a little bit more of that pink. So I'm going to pick up some more of that pink, that neon pink. And I'm going to tap that as well, right here on my edge. Yeah. And then I'm going to wash my brush off. And I'm going to have clean water, tapping it a little bit. And then I'm just going to dab in between here to kind of push and pull my colors and see if I can't get them to blend a little bit more. The more water you have in your color, the lighter it's going to be. So the first time when I did it, it was going to be fairly light because I added water to my paper and then I added my colors on top. So right out of the get-go, I'm going to have a lighter color. So I'm going to start here, add a little bit more. It's kind of damp. I can feel it being damp. It's not all the way dry. Tap a little bit more in here. And then let's pick up a little bit more of this pink. On my page, I have all different ages who join me for draw-alongs, from people who are my age to young drawing people as well. Wendy, who's watching today, her granddaughter has been drawing a little bit, so that is fun to see. And I do have even really young students who come on and watch it. It's really for everyone, and you know, you can have different successes, and if you start drawing and painting, the better you're going to get. So really it is just kind of a muscle memory and figuring out things in your style, and just practicing will bring your paintings to life. All right, so that's gonna let dry a little bit more. Let's start on her face a little bit. Now I chose to use that orange color for her face. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this in here. And I'm going to try to leave a little bit of highlight, like maybe in the front part of her nose, if I can. And then this will definitely be back in shadow. So I'm not too worried about this part getting darker. And I'm going to be adding darker layers to that to bring it back a little bit farther. Okay, she's coming more to life by just adding this little next layer on. Okay, so let's let that. Oh, look at how much difference she looks just by adding that little bit of orange layer in there. Now I'm going to take that orange that I just used for her face. That. I'm going to take just a little bit of darkness to it. And let's see, let's see what this color looks like. I'm experimenting. I'm not for sure. In this set, I always say this too, I don't particularly care my browns in this set. But I just took a little bit of all my browns and I mixed it together. And then now I'm going to go ahead and tap in just a little bit of the darker color and see what happens for mixing, because now my paper is wet. I didn't give it time to dry. We're going to tap that in. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush off. Give it a nice, rinse it off for the clean water. Give it a squeeze so it's not too damp. And then I'm going to push and pull a little bit this color. Don't want to mess with it too much This paper is has some sizing in it. If you come in too hard and it's like in between dry and not dry, you can start lifting the back color. And if you see that, you might want to give it a stop. Now I'm going to go here and give her a shadow here because that would be going behind her bangs. So let's drop in a little color there. I'm going to drop in a little bit of darkness here because this would be behind as well. Okay, she's looking cute. And I might take a little bit of this color and add it here since I have it. Darken up my hearts just a tiny bit. Okay, so we have that part. Let's work a little bit on her bow. So I chose to do a purple bow. So I have purple left here. That's another good thing about watercolor is that you can let it dry out and you don't have to worry about it being wasted because all you have to do is add water and it's going to reactivate it so you can bring it back to life. I'm going to come right in here and add a little bit of purple. Let's see. This is going to be my lightest shade. So I'm definitely going to want to try to leave a little bit of white if I can. I know it would be darker in here because this is the inside of my loop. And it would be darker underneath her chin, so that's going to be in shadow as well. Maybe a little bit of highlight off to the side, like catching a little bit of light. And then coming down. And we're going to come here. Now she would be cute done in acrylic paint. She would be, well, even colored pencil would be a great rendition. There's some that follow along who like to use watercolor pencils. And I haven't done a lot of watercolor pencils. Sometimes I struggle with them. But you could use watercolor pencil. There's quite a few people who follow along and draw with me who really enjoy using the gel markers. So they like adding a little bit of texture that way and glitter too, because they can add the glitter with the gel pens and come up with a fun look that way. Let's see, let's mix a different shade of purple. I'm going to take a little bit more blue this time. Off to the side here. And see if I kind of come up. That color's kind of light. That might not work as well. Thinking I'm going to take a little bit more red. So this is when my color chart comes in handy. So I can take a look at my color chart and see what I've got going on here. So I'm thinking I'm going to be in this realm here is where I want to choose. This color might be too close to that bright magenta color that I'm using. So by having this chart set up and ready to go, this will help me determine what kind of colors I want. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and choose that color, which is here. It's so hard to see what actual color is in the paint tray just because of the paints. Well, I'm getting a little bit full here, so I'm going to wipe that out because I need another spot. I can use the tin part of my little travel set. I can use that, but I don't prefer to use that because of the metal underneath. It does affect how I see the colors. So by using something that is white, that's more like my paper, so I can see the color that I'm actually going to have when I lay it down. Okay, that's probably a little better look. Let's pop some of this in here. That doesn't she look like a lovely little Valentine Highland cow? It reminds me of those conversation hearts with the love coming down. Let's add a little bit more color here. And a matter of fact, I'm thinking I'm going to add a little bit of that color to my Highland cow. Because see, she's started to dry a little bit. So I can notice I need to deepen up my colors. Enjoy all of the Lady Bull attitude. Do you think she has attitude? Do you think she has attitude? I think that's funny. She has attitude. Well, she's got beautiful eyelashes. She's got beautiful eyelashes. Okay. Well, maybe she's got to be a little bit more furry to be a Highland cow. I hadn't decided if it's fur or if it's hair. Okay, so let's pop in a little bit more color here. For her pinks, I want to deepen it a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more shadow in there. So that's that different layer, and I can add it in there. You know, take your time when you're doing watercolor and experiment a little bit and see how, you know, what would it look like if you add another layer? Is that going to be too much? So sometimes I go too far, but sometimes I don't push it far enough, and I lose what I could accomplish on the other side. And a little helpful tip for these too is that if you have the light boards that you can buy, They're so skinny now, and I want to say light board, but that's probably not the right word. They're a light. They're a little tablet that come with a light inside. And if you use that, you can actually put down your watercolor paper on that light board and then take copy paper over top and re-sketch, redraw it by simply redrawing it, and you'll have a copy of your image. You could also, you could do that on copy paper. You could use mixed media paper. And if you use mixed media paper, you could paint on mixed media paper. So you could do another drawing and painting quickly if you wanted to. Her colors are right up your alley. Yes, she does. Yes, she's got cute. She's really cute. She might need a little bit more aqua though to be totally beachy, right? I'm thinking I see the aqua in a lot of yours. There we go. Let's add that next darker. And when I'm painting, I get a little too afraid, like adding too dark a color. How will it dry? But honestly, it's the more you play with your colors to see how they interact with one another and how they interact with your paper and the amount of water. There's a lot of little different subtleties to it. The more you're going to be comfortable and the more you're going to learn about your paint. And every little set, too, is slightly different. I just bought a new set of watercolors, and I'm kind of struggling with them. I'm trying to figure out how to get my colors the way I want to in my background. So I'm going to have to spend some time, a little bit of time with my things to really kind of figure out how they work with one another. Well, I think she's looking mighty sassy. And I like her little bright white spot here in the front, her little highlight. I think I'm going to leave that. Hello, hello. You love this pretty pink cow. She is really cute. Let's go ahead and layer in some of these other tiny little hearts. Let's layer in some of these. I'm going to pop in just a little bit of this little color here. Here, there, just pick up some of the colors that you did around on the bottom part and layer them on the top. And I definitely want to definitely use some of these neon colors because they were just bright and colorful. And it's super fun to have that little bit of it. They're not something you're probably going to use every day, but they are a fun little thing. And since they have them in here, it's a great little opportunity. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of this neon orange too. Oh my goodness, look at how bright these are. Also too, an opportunity, this little set here also has metallic colors in it. So there are 4 little metallics in there too that you can use. And I'm always surprised at how brightly colored and shiny that metallic watercolors are. They don't look shiny right away when you are when you're using them on your paper. It's not until they dry that you actually see all the shine. So let's pop a little bit in here. Thanks for coming on today. I'm so glad you love metallics and shiny. Yeah. Now this little gal, my original one I didn't do a background on her, but since I have a little bit of time, let's try a little background on this one. So they don't have to, they're never going to match. I always say they're not twins, but they could be sisters, right? They could be sisters. I always say at the end, they could kind of be sisters. Let's load up my palette. And since I've got a lot of pink, I'm thinking I need to maybe do a turquoisey color in the background. So I'm going to pick up that turquoise and see what kind of color combination I might come up with. And this is just a grand experiment. It may not be looking all that right, but we're going to try it. Super satisfying to me for sure. Thanks for popping on today. Thanks for popping on and joining in today. All right, I usually enjoy doing kind of a soft background, so I have my color mixed to about tea consistency, or maybe even a little lighter to start with. Okay, so let's pop a little bit of this in here and see where we end up. I can always go darker. I can't go lighter. I'm going to pop this in here, this blue. It's kind of showing up more blue and less turquoise. When I do my backgrounds, I usually change the direction of my hand so it's not all the same pattern in the background. I try to leave some open spots and not fill it all the way in. That's just the way I like to create backgrounds, kind of more in a whimsical style. So let's go ahead and pop that in there. And I might pick up some of that, maybe that darker green might look good in there. Try that. So did you draw her out? I did draw her out. Yes. It's a lot more simple than what you think. I broke all the steps down into simple shapes and lined it up like I normally do. So yes, the drawing is there. You can draw her and have fun doing her. And like I said, she could be done easily in acrylic paints, markers, anything you like. Those little Highland cows have been very popular. And I haven't done one, so I thought it's probably time to do one. What do you guys think about the blue? Do we think we need to add a little bit more green in there? This is where sometimes you can go too far. Let's pick up just a tiny bit of that magical neon green and see what happens. You saw your little pig and thought it was so cute. Yes, that little, you know, I've done quite a few different Valentine draw-alongs for the month of January. I have quite a few in there, actually. If you enjoy doing those little whimsical drawings and paintings, there's quite a few that you can enjoy there and create on your own. But that little pig, I just think he's super sweet. Yeah, I'm thinking I like just a little bit of splash of that green in there. Just light. And again, I'm kind of changing the direction of my hand. And this is just, they call it glazing. Well, truly to be glazing it, I'd have to let it really dry before I put that next layer on there. So I'm kind of pushing it. I could reactivate that color behind me, but that I just put on by doing it so quickly. But if you want to give yourself a little bit of time, you could let that background color dry and then just glaze on another color to see where you end up. Okay, I think I want to make that part pink because I kind of left that open and I think I need to do it. You love your draw-alongs, you learn a lot. You know, you have learned a lot, Deb. Deb has drawn for me. How many years have you drawn along with me, friend? I think she's probably been drawing along with me. I have to get another paper towel. I think Deb's been drawing along with me for probably a good 3 years. And it's been fun to see her progress. And it's just like anything. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get. And you build your confidence. And it's just learning memory muscles and you're training your eyes too at the same time. You're training your eyes to look at what you're actually seeing in the shape. So you're training yourself as well about what are you looking at and just giving your eyes a good training about doing it. Let's pick up a little bit more purple. Let's work a little bit more. Oh, well, today's YouTube hop, there'll be more people that come after me, and they're all in the descriptions today. So if you just click on the description of my YouTube video today, their links will be there. And our Take 5 team, we have a bunch of different creatives inside of our group. They all do different things. Wendy was before me, and she actually did the soft clay sculptures is what she was doing. And Christy from My Art Venture, she was on, and she did a painting, acrylic painting with the beautiful bouquet of hearts. She worked on that. And I didn't get to see Susan's this morning, but we started out early and we'll be having some all throughout the day. So if you're interested in seeing what the other folks are doing, you're going to want to check out the links listed down below. Go over and see what they're doing. We all appreciate you coming in and seeing us and joining in today's art fun. Let's see, I've got about 4 minutes left. Let's see if I can't find my pen. Oh. I'm not in my studio space today, so I am traveling. So I kind of have things a little bit of everywhere. I've taken my dad's kitchen over. That's what I've been doing. For those who might be new to watercolor, when you're doing watercolor, you can't add the white paint back in for white. So often you need, if you would like to add a little bit of white, this pen right here, the Uniball pen, Signo Uniball pen, has got a great white ink in it, and it's wonderful for adding some highlights in and just getting some more of your highlights back in. And so I can use this easily to doodle in a little bit of white, since I left some, but I didn't leave a lot. Let's see if I can't enter some more in. Plus, it's just a little great pen to add some doodling. I love to scribble. I love to doodle. So technically this would be called a mixed media piece and not necessarily a true watercolor piece because I didn't just use watercolor. But with what I do and the style of drawings I like to do, I don't mind mixing it up. and adding a little bit of something else into there. So you can see by just adding that little bit of white in there, all of a sudden it takes her to another level of kind of interest. I'm going to put a little bit of white here on her nose, just a tiny bit. Let's throw some on her bow. Let's come in here. You might want to consider your white as the sparkle in your drawing. So use it, kind of use it sparingly, like not everywhere, but add it as a sparkle, or at least that's how I like to reserve it for, is a little bit of sparkle on my picture. Okay, that's kind of wet, so I might not see that one, but that's okay. Let's add a little bit of sparkle to her long hair here. And we'll add some here as well. So cute. I think I'm even going to add just a little bit more even in the front of her. Now, this is a good opportunity if you have this pen, if you need to strengthen the white in your eye, like you colored it in, but you colored too much in, you could add a little bit of bright white into that and open that back up again. I'm going to draw just a tiny bit of little dishes and dashes, a little bit of doodle marks on my hearts that are here. And maybe on the top of her horns. Earlier I was saying antlers, and it's like, no, that's not the right word. Horns. Okay, we'll add just a tiny bit here. Well, my turn is up, and up next, oh, I forgot to take a look, but it's down in the description. You'll be able to follow along there. They'll be coming on. Now, this is when you can decide too if you want to add just a little bit in your background. This might be a fun way to add just a little bit more. Let's do a few little spirals in there and see what we can create. Let's do a little spiral here and maybe here. Adding a little bit more texture to the background. All right. Well, today has been super fun to be able to come on and do this live with you. Remember, you can usually catch 2 lives from me a week and have new videos to draw along with and practice and paint. If you're interested in doing the watercolor, it's a great place to jump on and learn. I'm happy to have you come over. I'm happy to be you subscribing to my page. I would love that as well. It's a great way to get out there. It's a new venture for me. I have just a little baby page is all I have. So I appreciate everyone who comes on and supports me. Well, that is it for today, my lovely friends, and hopefully you'll come back and see me again.